Imagine you're standing completely alone somewhere quiet. Nothing has cut you. There's no smoke, no wind, no injury anywhere on your body. And then, without warning, your eyes fill with water and it spills down your face. Nothing physical happened. Something inside your head did. A memory, a loss, a single thought, and your body answered it with salt water running down your skin. Why would a body shaped by millions of years of survival pressure do that? Why would it blur your vision, signal vulnerability to everyone nearby, waste fluid for nothing except a feeling? Right now, somewhere on Earth, someone is crying for exactly that reason. No injury, no smoke, just emotion. And as far as scientists can tell, out of every species alive, you are the only one that does this. Maybe you think crying is just emotional overflow, too much feeling with nowhere else to go. Maybe you think it's a flaw, something evolution should have erased a long time ago. Or maybe you've never thought about it at all. It's just something your body does when it's sad. Here's what the research actually shows. Emotional tears are not a glitch. They may be one of the most precise communication tools the human body has ever built. And the story starts with a man who found it genuinely confusing. In 1872, Charles Darwin published a book called The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. He studied grief, fear, anger, and tears stopped him cold. He called weeping purposeless because he couldn't find a single survival advantage to it. An animal that cries is an animal telling every predator nearby exactly where it is and exactly how weak it feels. To Darwin, that should have been bred out of us within a few generations. Instead, it's universal. Every human culture on record has it. A century later, biochemist William Frey ran an experiment that cracked part of the mystery open. He collected tears two different ways. Once from chopping onions, once from people watching emotional films. Under a microscope, they looked identical. Chemically, they weren't. Emotional tears contained measurably higher levels of stress hormones like ACTH and a natural painkiller called leucine enkephalin. Crying from sadness isn't the same fluid as crying from an onion. Your body is, quite literally, flushing stress chemicals out through your eyes. But that raises another question. If it's just about removing stress hormones, why does it have to happen visibly in front of other people? This is where evolutionary biologist Orrin Hassan's research comes in. He argues tears evolved as a signal, and a costly one. Blurred vision makes you temporarily weaker, less able to fight or flee. That's expensive to advertise, but that's the point. A signal that's expensive to fake is a signal other people can trust. When someone cries in front of you, their brain is broadcasting, "I am not a threat, and I need you." Hassan calls this an honest signal. And honest signals are some of the most powerful tools in social evolution because they can't be cheaply faked. Now go back to infancy. Newborns cry constantly, but for their first 6 to 12 weeks, they cry without producing emotional tears. The ducts work. The crying with tears response just isn't online yet. Researchers believe this window matters. It's roughly the same period babies start forming their first real social bonds, recognizing faces, responding to voices. Tears seem to switch on right as the social brain does. That's not a coincidence. It suggests crying isn't an emotional release valve bolted on afterward. It's wired into the same system that builds human relationships in the first place. And here's where it gets stranger. Tears don't just signal to the person watching, they change that person. Studies have found that smelling someone else's emotional tears, even without seeing them cry, lowers testosterone and aggression in people nearby and increases activity in brain regions linked to empathy. Crying doesn't just say, "I'm vulnerable," it chemically nudges everyone around you toward gentleness. Now look at how ancient cultures treated this. In Egypt and Rome, professional mourners, often women, were hired to weep loudly at funerals, sometimes for hours. This wasn't seen as fake or shameful. It was a duty, a performance the dead deserved. In the Iliad, Achilles, the greatest warrior in Greek myth, weeps openly in front of his entire army, and no one treats it as weakness. Archaeologists have even found small glass vials called lacrimatories in Roman tombs, sometimes interpreted as vessels for collecting mourners' tears and burying them with the dead. Whether every vial truly held tears or not, the existence of objects built around grief tells you something. Crying wasn't an embarrassing leak to hide. It was worth preserving. That mechanism hasn't gone anywhere. Modern relationship researchers find that couples who can cry in front of each other and respond with comfort instead of dismissal report stronger bonds and faster conflict resolution. The hardware Hassan described in evolutionary terms is the same hardware still showing up in therapists' offices today. So when did the first human cry tears of grief instead of pain? We'll never know. There's no fossil for an emotion. But the ingredients were all in place early. A social brain capable of deep attachment, a body that could turn internal stress into a visible signal, and a group nearby whose brains were wired to answer that signal with care instead of indifference. That person standing alone, crying for no physical reason, they're not broken. They're running one of the oldest pieces of social software the human body has. It was old before language, it was old before fire, and it's still doing exactly what it was built to do.